Hey everyone, Black Emerald here, and we're back here on Pokemon Violet because I finally have a chance to run a theme team. Woo! So let's take a look here real quick. So this is a theme team specifically based off of a, a community I'm, a part of. And so we've got a team here of, Black Emerald, the Tyranitar. It's named after me, everybody. We've got Odami, the Zangoose, who really should have been shiny, but, after hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of eggs, again, I got a little burned out, so just like, you know what? He's going to be non-shiny. Then we've got Himari, the Tropius. Aurine, the Garchomp. Embaconing the Tinkaton, and, the ever-so-great God is Dead. So, as you can see here, of course, I've got the Tyranitar with the leftovers, Odami with the Salac Berry, Himari with the Citrus Berry, with the ability Harvest, which is fun, Aurine with the Rocky Helm, and you'll understand why, Embaconing the Tinkaton with the Assault Vest, and someone was probably asking why is who is in the group's probably thinking, why is Embaconing a Tinkaton? Because. Just because. And then, and God is Dead has got the booster energy. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into today's 3 battles. And you may want to stick around for the last one. All right, so our first battle of the day is up against Turai, and after seeing his, team preview, it's like, oh, okay, maybe I can handle this. So he starts it off with the Gallade, and I went ahead and started off with Aurine, the Garchomp. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, I don't know what to expect, so let's go ahead and set up the Stealth Rocks first. And while I set my move, and I'm sitting here and waiting, because I don't know if they were having connection issues or if I was having my standard connection issues or what the deal was. So I started wondering, I hope they're not going to DC, because the first battle with the team, the person DC'd after they didn't hit anything. So I started to panic. I started to worry. It's like, oh God, am I going to DC in the middle of a fight? And spoiler alert, I didn't. We're good. But I did. I sat there and started panicking because I didn't know what was going on. If it was me, if it was them, if they were about to, And so finally we get into it, and I, popped the Stealth Rocks, and they popped Fury Cutter, which, I wasn't expecting. And I thought, oh, okay, well, now I can, now the Garchomp really can shine because he has Rough Skin and the Rocky Helm. So I thought, okay, well, the next one still shouldn't do anything. I can go ahead and pop a Swords Dance here and go ahead and start actually setting up to do something. And, of course, I popped the Swords Dance, and then the Gallade pops Fury Cutter again and pops a crit. And I'm like, ah, crap. Well, at least he still did damage on the way out. I wanted, this Garchomp to be the, one of the, like shit pain in the ass. So I took a look and went, okay, well, what do I do here next? Okay, well, I can throw in the Zangoose, I can throw in Odami and pop the Endure because I'll live with 1 health. And then I can go ahead and set up for reversal. And now now Odami is also running Salac Berry, as I showed you during the start of the video, which when you have a certain amount, when you are below a certain amount of health, it will raise your speed by 1 point. And this thing has, this thing is ridiculously fast anyway. So, got the Endure off, popped the Salac Berry, and then I had Counter on it originally, but I switched out for Reversal instead, because I figured that would be the better option. And so I'm like, okay, I can take this thing out, and then I can handle whatever's coming next. Well, funny story, they don't keep the Gallade in. They drag it out, and they pop in the Slowbro. And I'm saying these in advance because everything's in, foreign language for me. But anyway, yeah, so they pop the Slowbro, and I get the reversal, no big, and it doesn't do a damn thing because, let's face it, Slowbro is a tanky boy. So I went, oh, I'm not going to be able to do much here. Let's hit him with the Thunder Wave. I can slow them down a little bit. And then, wouldn't you know it, they pop Iron Defense. I'm like, oh, okay, no. My thought here was I cannot let them set up. There is nothing I can physically do. Otomi has served his purpose in this fight. We need to go ahead and switch. So we switch out for Himari. And I'm so glad I did, and so glad I handled this the way I did. Because Himari, the build here was supposed to have Leech Seed. But unfortunately, I didn't have the stuff to do Leech Seed, so I had to settle with Growth. And this thing it helped this fight. Because I popped Growth here, and then they popped, what was it? Nasty Plot, yes. And, of course, my immediate thought there was, nope, I can't let them set up any more than that. But I need one more just to feel safe. So I popped one more Growth. And my heart fell out of my ass right here for a moment. Because they popped this. And I'm like, oh, God. And I lived. So, it's okay. I can do this. The Himari Tropius is a bit of a tank. So, of course, I decided to be the biggest annoyance possible and pop the Giga Drain, which took out the Slowbro, and that was nice. And then after that, after some, of course, communication, they pop in a Ditto. And not just any type of Ditto, as you'll see. It's an Imposter Ditto. Yep, here we go. And, of course, I see this come in, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm donezo here. There's not a lot I can do. Because, it's like, okay, it's a Ditto, it's got Imposter, it's going to have Scarf. I'm dead here. And then I outspeed. And my first thought is like, who doesn't run a Ditto without Scarf? Like, seriously. But, hey, I wasn't complaining. That was a free knockout. So, of course, the Harvest activates. I get a Citrus Berry back, and they throw out the Goodra. And I know Goodra can be a bit of a thick boy. So, I resigned myself to doing as much damage as I possibly could on the way out. And they popped Sludge Bomb, which I wasn't expecting. But then again, it's a Goodra. Why wouldn't it? Because, Fairy Defense. So I get a little bit of heals off the Citrus Berry again, and I go ahead and I pop Dragon Pulse. Hoping that would take it out. Nope. Again, Goodra is a tanky boy. So, I went ahead and was going for it again, but it's like, I'm not living this one. So, good job, Himari the Tropius. But now we go ahead and we switch in for Embaconing. I waffled for a moment. I was like, no. Embaconing's the best choice here. So, out comes Embaconing, and we go ahead and we pop the Play Rough, because I don't want this thing doing any more damage than it absolutely can. And, Play Rough's one, it doesn't have, like, the greatest of accuracies. I mean, it's got, like, I think 95, but still. And then they pop the Rain. I'm like, or are they setting up for the next one because they know they're going out here, or what? And, of course, they've got Gooey, which lowers my speed by one stage. But not to worry. This, Embaconing is a bit of a tank himself. Or herself, I guess, in this case. So I was just curious, like, okay, well, what's coming next? Is there something that's got, like, Swift Swim or something? Like, why would they set up the Rain? And, I worried about it and kind of, planned my strategy accordingly, just in case. And then, if I'm not mistaken, I believe, yes, out pops the Gallade. And it's like, okay, well, as long as I'm faster, this thing, this won't be too bad. And I can go ahead and hit it with the Play Rough because, Psychic Fighting, both of them weak to. And he pops Sacred Sword. And it's like, okay. And, of course, Play Rough takes it out. So, I'm still curious, like, why they set up the Rain. And then comes the Azumarill. And I made some pretty poor plays here. Now, there wasn't a lot I could do with Embakening, so I just went for Gigaton Hammer, thinking, well, I was expecting Belly Drum, but no, they popped Aqua Jet. And they've got Life Orb. So I'm sitting there thinking, it's like, well, what's its ability then? So I'm like, okay, well, I'll just throw out I'll throw out Black Emerald, and we'll, and I wasn't thinking all the way through, and my dumbass popped Dragon Dance instead of something useful, like Thunder Punch. Because I forgot he was hitting me with Aqua Jet. Like, I realized too little too late that, I made a wrong move here. So I popped the Dragon Dance, and my thought here was like, well, I mean, I can outspeed it, and oh shit, that's right, it's running Aqua Jet. I can't do anything here. That was a wasted turn. So, of course, my lefties activate, give me a little bit of health, but it's not going to help. And I was just, well, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and use the Thunder Punch. I can't do anything because it's just boom, there we go. And down goes Tyranitar. And finally, the last thing I had available to me was God is Dead, which I had forgotten that I still had Otomy in the back, but he couldn't have done anything either. So I go ahead and I pop good old God is Dead here, and the rain had just finished. But it's not like I can do anything with Flame Charge there. So I'm sitting there looking, it's like, well, what? Okay, bulk up, pop the bulk up. That way Aqua Jet does a little bit less damage each time. But I started to get worried, like, well, what if this thing pops a crit? So after the first bulk up, I just kind of went and was like, you know what? Screw it. We'll lunge at it. Aqua Jet, and I lived that. I panicked for a second because I thought, oh God, I'm going to get critted right here. And of course the lunge takes it out. And that's it. We are victorious. Oh, I forgot about Iron Hands. I legitimately forgot about Iron Hands. Because, I mean, this went so quick that yeah. Because Iron Hands can be kind of scary if you let it get going. And it looks like what they had as far as like a team went, or a team was concerned, was a whole bunch of like Terror Raid Pokemon. So they terrestrialized their Iron Hands here into a fighting type. And, now that I remember this is here, of course, it's like, well, as long as I'm faster, I've got this. I didn't realize that I still hit like a freight train. So, and down goes the Iron Hands. And that is the match right there. So, moving on to the second match against Leonidas. Now, this one, once again, took a look at the team preview, and of course they had like Skeledirge, Cinderace. I'm like, oh, okay. Orion is going to do absolutely phenomenal here. And they pop out their Garchomp first thing. It's like, okay, well, Garchomp be Garchomp. And I wasn't expecting much, so I was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and pop the rocks first because that's going to help me versus the Cinderace and the Skeledirge and, well, anything else pretty much. And I was thinking, okay, well, next turn I can go ahead and pop Swords Dance, and they pop Outrage. I'm like, and my first thought was, well, I wasn't expecting that fully. Did some damage on the way out, but why would you pop a move that you're going to get locked in, seeing that I've got a Fairy type? So, of course, next move, Embakening. Out we go. So, we got the Embakening out here. And it was just like, okay, no, play rough. We are going to get this thing off the field as fast as possible. So, their Outrage can't do anything because I'm a fairy. And they're confused. I was like, okay, this is going to work in my favor. So, play rough. It doesn't quite take it out. It lives on just a sliver of health. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, I can go ahead and play rough again. That should take it out. And then, it hits itself in confusion. And takes itself out. And I was just like, okay, I'll take it. Free knockout for me. So, of course, I'm sitting there trying to think, like, okay, well, what's next? And Then next comes in the Skeledirge. And of course, I'd forgotten the fact that I do have a weakness to fire. So I'm just like, well, let's hit it with knockoff, because my thought too was like it was probably running like assault vest or something, because that is kind of a common Skeledirge item, and it had nothing. And it pops the flamethrower, and that's where I'm reminded, oh yeah, guess what? I have a weakness to fire. I forgot about that. So rather than let it take out, in baconing, I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to switch over to Black Emerald. That'll shut down, any fire type attacks it tries to hit me with. And I need to swap abilities on Black Emerald. But yeah, next he hits me with the Torch Song, and that confirms that I need to get this thing out of here quickly, because I don't need this thing setting up a whole bunch of Torch Songs and then being able to just absolutely ruin my team. So I just decided, you know what, let's skip the Dragon Dance, let's go straight for Crunch. That is going to be the best move right here. And Crunch lands, takes it out, and it took it out with a crit. That didn't really matter, I don't think, but hey, it was nice to see it happen. So now that the Skeledirge is gone, I'm wondering, okay, what's coming in next? And next up is the Cinderace. And this, let me tell you, this had me scared for a moment, because this is the same one you get out of the Terror Raid. Now, the rocks helped. The rocks absolutely helped. So I went for Dragon Dance here, thinking, well, if I can just outspeed it, because Cinderace is fast as shit anyway. I thought, well, if I can just outspeed it, I can take it out. And it pops High Jump Kick. And that was probably the best thing that could have actually happened for this fight. But I go ahead and I pop Embaconing back out, thinking, okay, well, I can hopefully hit it with a Play Rough and take it out, because, super effective. And then I briefly remembered, oh yeah, this guy's faster. Now what's he going to hit me with? And he pops Pyro Ball. And I'm very glad they actually nerfed both the abilities Protein and Libero, to where it only activates on the first move. But at the same time, I kind of miss that, being able to switch. But anyway, so I pop in Otomy here, and I'm thinking, okay, I can absolutely take this thing out now. So I go ahead and I pop the Endure, because I wanted to actually successfully use this like combo, each time. And of course, live on 1 health, and it was a crit, so I lived on 1 health on a crit thanks to Endure. Of course, pop the Salac Berry, speed goes up by 1, and now the fun begins, because now I am faster than the Cinderace. So we go ahead and we pop the Reversal. And this thing gets absolutely ripped apart like tissue paper. Well, okay, not totally, but it lived on, I think, maybe 1 health, sliver of health. So my next thought is, okay, let's go ahead and pop Himari. Himari is faster, or at least I thought. And that was not the case, but Air Slash was going to take it out. This is a good showcase of, how thick this Tropius is, because it lived a Pyro Ball. But then again, the Cinderace is also not hitting, with stabs, so that helps. But pop the Air Slash, and no more Cinderace. It's gone. I don't got to worry anymore. So I hoped that, like, the next thing that came in I could deal with pretty quickly. And they popped the Koraidon. And I'm just thinking, and this is where I wished this was a Chlorophyll set, to where it would have doubled the speed, because I think we could have taken it out. But we'll never know. So I go ahead and I pop, oh crap. It's like Dragon Pulse. I brain farted there for a second. I apologize. And then they're fast, and they pop Flamethrower, which not a big. So I'm looking, like, okay, God is dead. You're up. I was wholeheartedly expecting to lose this fight. But thanks to, Koraidon's special ability, that activated my Protosynthesis. So I'm just like, you know what? Screw it. Terastal Lunge. I think it was. No, Superpower. Terastal Superpower. Let's just get this thing off the board before it can do any more damage to the team. And I wanted to have a bug terastal, but I'm going to settle with the fighting, because the fighting terastal helped me out tremendously here, because that took away my weakness to fire. So it will be, God is Dead will be staying a fighting terastal. But superpower absolutely destroys the Koraidon. And then next they popped out a Crocodile, which I've got some ideas for a theme team with a Crocodile in it, but I haven't gotten that far yet. So before I knew what was coming out, though, I'm sitting there thinking, okay, well, what's next? What's next? What can I do? Am I going to be able to do anything? But mind you, I'm a terastal Slitherwing, so... But yeah, so here comes the Crocodile. And of course, it's got Intimidate, which drops my attack by 1. But, fun fact, my thought was, well, I'm just going to lunge, and that's going to drop your attack. But he hits me. It doesn't kill me, and lunge crits and takes out his Crocodile. I was dumbfounded, like, what? Oh, okay. But, to keep in mind, Protosynthesis boosts your attack by a crap ton. So, I can afford to do things like pop another superpower, which does lower your attack by 1 stage along with your defense. And this Greninja also scared me because, right there it is, Water Shuriken. However, it does so little on each shot. The only way a Water Shuriken would have taken me out, even if he had gotten all 5 hits, was if one of them was a crit. So, here we go. Pop the, beefed up superpower. And I was expecting this thing to live, and I was expecting to lose, but nope, it gets absolutely ruined. And there it is. There is battle number 2. And now battle number 3. This was against Ebba. And again, looked at their team preview and was like, okay, I think I can handle this. So starts off, and they throw out Dragonite to start it off. And because I was expecting something else. So it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to pop Swords Dance, because I was expecting something like, Dragon Claw, maybe an Outrage or something. But no, it pops Dragon Rush. I'm like, okay, I mean, I'll take it. So, of course, the good old Rough Skin and the Rocky Helm just absolutely, shave away this thing's health. And if this thing had multi-scale, it didn't anymore. So, next up we go into Embakening. And of course, the immediate thought was, okay, I can just hit it with Play Rough and that'll get it right off the board. I almost went with Stone Edge, but, it's like, no, Play Rough. Play Rough is the safest bet. So, down goes the Dragonite. And next in was the Skeledirge, and part of me wished I had set up rocks before this thing had come in, but that's okay. This worked out just fine in the end. So I thought, okay, well, let's go ahead and hit it with Knockoff. And I was expecting, once again, Assault Vest. And no, the crazy thing was carrying a Brave Mint. And of course, I got a crit on there, which helped tremendously. And of course, it pops Torch Song and nearly absolutely ruins me. But that Assault Vest helped keep me alive, because that buffs my special defense by 1.5. So, another Knockoff, down it goes. It's out of there. And so, of course, I'm sitting here going, okay, well, what now? And then they throw out their own Tinkaton. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, well, this ought to be easy. I'm just going to go ahead and pop, Gigaton Hammer. And then they pop Flash Cannon. I'm like, it's a special Tinkaton? I mean, there was nothing I could do right there. That thing outsped and absolutely ruined Embakening, but I got to look and it's like, okay, well, let's just pop God is Dead. There's not a lot I can do, but I can go ahead and hit it with the Flame Charge. So I go ahead and I pop God is Dead. Go ahead and get the booster energy to pop my Protosynthesis, because I didn't think there was much this thing could do to me. So I go ahead and I go for flame charge. And then it pops its own play rough. And I'm like, it's a mixed attacker. Okay. So I get the flame charge off, and it doesn't do much, but I wanted it for the speed because my thought process was, and then of course they pop lefties. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting item to have. So I just go ahead and I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to hit them with superpower. And away they go. So I was happy to have that off the board. I really was, because that could have done some serious damage. Then, as I'm sitting here, I'm like, okay, well, what are they going to have next? Because I remember they had like a Greninja and a couple of other things on their list. It's like, okay, well, what's next? And they pop the Greninja. And I'm like, you know what? No, I'm not screwing around this time. So I go ahead and I pop the Terrastal and Superpower right, one after the other. Because, I don't want to have to deal with a potential, serious threat Greninja. And I was expecting them to Terrastalize it into the Poison Greninja, because it seems like everyone keeps running the ones that they got from the event. Which I don't have yet, but I will fix that. And of course the Greninja goes down. I'm like, okay, what's next? What's next? And then something happened. They got salty. And they disconnected. So, yeah. Welcome to the first disconnect I've had to deal with in the middle of a fight. Because, instead of at the very, very start. So, but that's it. Thank you for hanging around and, watching all this. I really do appreciate you guys, checking this out. And if you like the video, make sure to hit that like button. And if you are coming back to check out these videos and live streams, that I do on the regular, hit that subscribe button. It's free and you'll thank yourself. But that's it, and I will see you all in the next one.